Hello everyone and welcome to another beer review. Now, today we're on the last beer of the Scottish series. Well, so far anyway. And today we're doing a beer that I suppose it's created a bit of hype on social media. So it has. If you go on Facebook and a lot of these other places where they're doing these adverts, it's getting a lot of positive comments and everybody's saying it's wonderful and it's marvellous. So let's find out. So today we're doing Tennent's Whisky Oak Ale. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's good. It's not Belhaven, so hey, it's got to be good. Although it does have Tennent's on the label. Anyway, let's find out. Anyway, so it's Tennent's beer aged with Whisky Oak. And it's a 330ml bottle because they couldn't be asked to get a bigger one. So they went for a wee baby bottle. But don't worry, we've got a little baby glass to go along with it. And it's 6% by volume. So it's a kind of decent ABV. And of course, there's going to be some spiel on it. Bit of a strange one. But anyway, what it says, Scottish beer, delicately paired with notes of single malt whisky and toasted oak. Product of Scotland. And what does it say on it at the bottom? Nothing really. And I've even got it in French. Produit de Écossais. There we go. That's lovely. Product of Scotland in French. Don't tell me the poor bastards have got to suffer it as much as me. Anyway. It's, what does it say? It's beer aged with whiskey infused oak, contains barley and wheat, and then that's it. There's no more information. I don't know. I'll put obviously any more details down below, and I'm sure it's going to be riveting, and I know you're going to be absolutely glued to it, thinking, whoa. But you never know. It might be quite nice. You don't know. I honestly really don't know. I know Innocent Gun kind of flogs that horse a lot. They seem to be absolutely obsessed with whiskey infused beer or conditioning beer or secondary conditioning in whiskey barrels and things like this. They also do, I think they do an Irish one now as well, and of course they do a Lefroy and everything else, which is fine. But here's the thing: if I want whiskey flavour, I'm quite happy to pour myself a glass of whiskey. I don't really want it in my beer. And if I did want it in my beer, then I would just take the whiskey and just pour it in my beer. You know, it really is that simple. I work in the basis is I want my beer to taste of beer. I don't want my beer to taste of other things, you know, like whiskey. Because if I want whiskey, then I'll just pour myself a whiskey and enjoy that. I don't understand why they have to keep crossing over flavours and then suddenly, you know, kind of make out it's something new and wonderful. It's like, just because you can, as I keep saying, doesn't mean you should. And at the end of the day, what's wrong with beer flavours? What's wrong with that? What's wrong with whiskey as whiskey? What's wrong with beer as beer? Why do they have to kind of try and cross them over and things like that? I just don't understand that. It's a strange one for me. I mean, okay, Innocent Gun does it, but they flog it to death. And yeah, they're okay. But I find the beers, I can have one of them. Yeah, they're fine. Get halfway down the second, I'm getting sick of it. I really am thinking, no, this isn't an enjoyable kind of session flavour profile. It's okay. Oh, here we fucking go again. Bastards with their cars again. Seriously. Can share a shit. So they are. Always fucking about. But anyway, as I was saying, I just find that, you know, they just become sickening very, very quickly just because they're not the flavours you kind of associate and they don't really work well together. That fucking Amazon. I'm sure it's going to be Amazon. Fucking bastards. Seriously. But anyway, you see this diesel. That's him pulling away now. Oh, Chugabug, eh? There you go, eh? Marvellous. But anyway, as I was saying, I just find that innocent gun, they're okay for one, but more than one, I just find it very sickening. And that's the problem. I like beer. And because I like beer, when I fancy beer, I'll go for beer. I mean, it really is that simple. I mean, I don't know why people have to make it any more complicated than it really needs to be. And like you say, if I want to have a whiskey, then I'll just have a whiskey. And guess what? Here's a real shocker. Sometimes I start off the night and have a few beers, and then I finish with a few whiskies. You think, bloody hell, that's just amazing, that, isn't it? How the fuck did you manage to come up with that one, eh? You must be a fucking genius. No, I'm just normal, just the same as anyone else that can work that one out. I don't have to think, well, if I buy beer that's been basically, matured or conditioned, whatever word they want to use at that fucking label, and put it in an old whiskey barrel and think, oh, that's marvellous. Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. Can have a beer and a taste of whiskey at the same time. It'll be marvellous. You don't have to bother pouring out 2 glasses because that's such a faff. Far better to go buy a load of piss of this because you've got to buy 6 bottles of this minimum off the internet. Jesus God. Right. I've been ranting already. Now you've cracked the bottle open yet. So let's get the bottle open and see what it's like. Little baby glass. So let's see what this is like. Hopefully it'll be quite good. But I've got a funny feeling it'll be kind of more into the vein of Innocent Gun. I probably think, well, it's a bit lively with the old effervescence. It's got that unforgettable Tennent's head. Now you see it, now you don't. The abracadabra head. Yeah. As always, as you pour it, it's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to be left here, as part of the evidence. Let's go look at it. It was instant. It's brilliant. every beer you pour of 10, it's the first thing that fucks off. Well, apart from your taste buds. It's like a race which pisses off quicker, your taste buds or the head. It's a close one. But let's see what it smells of. Well, I'm getting a little smell of alcohol. Maybe a little smell of grain. Struggle to get really anything. Maybe a little hint of malt, but a little bit of earthiness. But I'll be totally honest, all the aromas are very, very weak. Nothing is jumping out at all. All very, very weak. So, let's see what it tastes like. Oh, I should have said that for the people on the podcast. It's a no finger head pour. Because the minute you basically touch the glass, the head's fucked off, basically. So right now I'm holding a glass with absolutely no head in it whatsoever. It's kind of a light kind of amber colour. So it is not a full kind of darker amber ale, but it's kind of amberish kind of colour. And that's it, really. It's clear. This makes me wonder if it was stored in whiskey barrels, why is it clear? It should have a bit of cloudiness to it, because it would have drawn other things off it unless they filtered it again afterwards, which then basically means if you filtered it, then any oils that are actually left in there from the actual whiskey barrel, which is the thing that's going to give you the flavour, are going to be filtered off as well. So what is it? Or have they done the old kind of cheat thing as the case is, what we'll do is we'll just basically put a couple of blocks from old whiskey barrels, cut wood, and just steep it in the beer. Or we're conditioning it. Which I think probably what's kind of happened. And also what I'm getting is there's a kind of strange, slightly chemical flavour to it. It's not natural. No, that's the whiskey flavour is a kind of chemical smokiness that's added to it there, which makes me think it's definitely not natural. There's not natural whiskey tones in this. It's a kind of false chemical flavour, to be totally honest. It's not particularly pleasant, to be totally honest. Mouthfeel isn't the greatest I had. It's a wee bit too fizzy. It needs to be a little bit softer than the carbonation. And overall, the main flavours I'm getting is a slightly kind of chemical smokiness and kind of false whiskey flavour. And a bit of ethanol. Just a little bit of alcohol that's rising above the kind of beer flavours, which is just kind of putting everything off a bit. So first impressions, not the best. Still trying to see if we can get a head going on this. Seriously. Be easier to start a fucking Austin Mini Metro or an Austin Allegro and try to get a head on this. Right, well let's break down the flavours. Okay, so what are we getting at the front of the mouth? Apart from carbonation, bloody hell. You're getting a little hint of malt, a little bit of sweetness, and a little bit of grain. But you're starting to get these kind of full kind of chemical whiskey flavours, accents just kind of appearing at the front of the mouth, which then start to develop in the mid-tongue. When it moves on to the mid-tongue for the front of the mouth, that like a little bit of sweetness, it disappears quite quickly. So it does. So that's disappeared quite quickly, and the malt kind of dies down, the grain kind of stays there. The carbonation, the overcarbonation is still there. Start to kind of annoy you a bit by the mid-tongue. And then them little accents of kind of chemical whiskey flavours start to kind of grow, and you start kind of developing into kind of chemical smokiness, a kind of unnatural smokiness. And it just feels false. It does not feel natural. I mean, if you look at it with Innocent Gun, I mean, with Innocent Gun, yeah, you do get it. The flavours of whiskey, including this kind of the bitterness and the sourness that you get with whiskey sometimes, depending on which ones are being used. And again, just by saying whiskey but doesn't tell you what type, then again, alarm bells are ringing, because, well, if you're getting smokiness, then it's going to be more of a kind of a Islay whiskey then. But you haven't mentioned that. So where's the smokiness coming from? Because you're certainly not getting that from a Speyside or a Highland malt. So again, alarm bells are ringing that not enough information treacle, and the flavour profiles are a bit off, especially in the mid-tongue. So yeah, the mid-tongue kind of ends up with this kind of chemical smokiness in it. And just over in general, that just not a very nice kind of whiskey flavour. It just feels kind of chemical. Moves on to the aftertaste, and here, this is a piece de resistance. This is. What's left of the malt and the grain disappears. The sweetness disappears as well in the aftertaste quite quickly. The kind of chemical whiskey flavour dissipates as well quite quickly, but you're left with this kind of that chemical kind of smokiness that is completely unnatural, and then you have this earthiness just coming from nowhere that just kind of is the last flavour. It just comes in just as that smokiness is kind of isolated, and then as the smokiness dissipates, you're just left with this kind of earthiness that slowly dissipates on afterwards. And I honestly don't understand. There's people that have been ranting and raving and thinking it's marvellous on every time they promote it on Facebook. And I've been reading them. And that's one of the reasons why I bought it. And I thought, well, let's have a look at some of the other stuff. And I got the Scottish ale and all the other stuff and things like that. So I put a decent order into Tennent's, who then pissed me about and delivered one bit. And then it was God knows how many days, almost a week, before I finally seen something else. But then claimed, because I had to phone them up and chase them because they claimed it was a case that it was a mix-up. It was damaged and it was sent back, and don't talk shit. But anyway, this is what I've been waiting for. And every time they promoted it on Facebook, there's been lots of people saying, oh, it's wonderful, it's great, oh, can't wait to order some more, oh, it's marvellous, it's wonderful. And you're thinking, now that I'm sitting here with it in my glass, thinking, is it me? Am I missing something here? I mean, seriously, is it me? Or do people just like drinking piss? I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe I've got the whole world wrong. Maybe I'm the freak. Maybe I'm looking for too much in beer now. Maybe my standards are too high. Fuck, Jesus. My standards are too high in beer. Well, it certainly doesn't replicate in any other part of my life. Jesus. So yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, how can people say it's all wonderful and great, and you sit and you taste it thinking, it tastes chemical, it tastes false. The beer flavours aren't even really there. They're particularly weak. And then you're just getting this kind of slightly alcohol kind of accent from the front to the back at a 6%, which again, at 6%, you really shouldn't be getting so much of that kind of alcohol accent. You're thinking, well, why am I getting slightly ethanol accent? Unless it's a case as though has it been falsely propped. Sometimes that happens, whereas they want to kind of get a higher alcohol beer, but obviously it's going to require more ingredients and everything else, so sometimes they brew it as a lower alcohol beer and prop it up with a little bit of ethanol. That type of thing, just kind of round it off to get that kind of stronger ale ABV, and that gives the impression of flavour, because everybody thinks, oh, ABV must have been bags of flavour, Yeah, it sometimes can, and then other times you're like, no. So yeah, it's not very good actually. Quite disappointing. And again, just because of that earthiness in the aftertaste, it just identifies as Tennent's so easily. Because even with your Tennent's lager, you're getting that earthiness and metallic aftertaste. Now, this is granted, it's not so metallic. You're getting a little bit of ethanol rather than the metallic, but you are getting that earthy finish. And I'll be totally honest, it's not particularly pleasant. And a bit disappointing, let's be totally honest, when, I mean, why do I listen to other people sometimes? Especially obviously people you don't know, and you can't honestly say you can trust them or not. But at the end of the day, if loads of people are saying it's wonderful and it's marvellous on social media, you think, well, let's give it a go. Not everybody can be wrong. Well, I'm starting to reevaluate that thought process for a start. But yeah, just quite disappointing. So, what would I give this out of 10? There's a question. Jesus, there is a question. Out of 10. Really is quite a difficult one, because this is the last. I mean, it's not the completely last of the Scottish series, but of the Scottish series that we've been doing, this is the last beer. I will probably get some later on, and I'll maybe introduce them round about Christmas time or the other side of Christmas into the new year. But for this year, I would probably say this is definitely the kind of the last one. For a while anyway, for at least a good few months, so you don't have to worry about me kind of ranting and raving or Belhaven and anyone else. But I thought this was going to be a good one to finish on. Jesus, There was my first mistake. I thought, out of 10. I'm toying between a 3 and a 3.5. This is the kind of level we're at. It doesn't even meet average. It's not good enough to be average. Yeah, I'm going to have to say a bit. I mean, look at the facts, right? Positives. Jesus. I'm still alive, so it hasn't poisoned me. It does have a beer taste. Not the best beer taste, but it does have a beer taste. Negatives. Chemical whiskey smell. Oh, flavour. Chemical whiskey kind of flavour accents. A chemical kind of smoky accent. An ethanol, and it's slightly over carbonated. It's a bit too much carbonation. Oh, and there's a nice earthy finish that everybody wants. No. So you're looking at all that and you're thinking seriously, and then you put it in a 330ml bottle and you're thinking seriously, you're ripping the piss. But I suppose when it tastes like this, you're probably right. At the time, I'm thinking 330ml. You're thieving buggers. You mean you could have put it in a bigger bottle? Now after tasting it, I'm thinking I'm glad you put it in 330ml, because if I was actually drinking this in front of somebody that basically poured it for me, then to not offend them, I'm quite glad it's a 330ml bottle that I'm going to have to swallow and then say, no, do you know what I fancy? I fancy a cup of tea. Yeah. No, do you want another one? No. I've had problems with my stomach and that. I've been upset and I don't want to kind of push it. So I fancy a wee cup of tea just to kind of settle everything down. And that. In other words, I don't want another bottle of that pish. So it's like that. It's one of these ones where you would try and avoid. Would I buy it again? No. Would I recommend it to other people? No. There's the reality. So yeah, 3.5 out of 10. If you want to give it a go, give it a go, but hell bloody mensch, in your own head be it. Because I don't understand why people are ranting and raving about it. It's very disappointing. The flavours seem very false, especially the whiskey flavours and this kind of smokiness. There's earthiness that I just do not like, but I've never really liked that from Tennent's anyway, and it's got that flavour. Can you not just get past that and stop it? But no, they're consistent with that anyway. And I don't understand why it's overcarbonated. There's no excuse for that. So 3.5 out of 10. It's 6%, 330ml bottle. How much did it cost? Probably too much, let's be totally honest. Even if it was 50 pence a bottle, it'd be too much. I'll be honest with you. Because I wouldn't spend 50 pence on another one. Put it that way. So there's reality. So I'll make sure the accurate prices are down below, as you know that I'm doing now anyway. So the beer facts will cover all that. And yeah. Don't worry yourself about it. Just carry on with your day. Don't even give this a second thought. Move on and enjoy whatever beers you usually enjoy, and don't give this a second thought. Don't even give it a consideration. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers and bye for now.